Before we start, I just want to make it known that we're at band practice drinking Juggalo juice. Fago Christian Apple picked up on his birthday vacation. It tastes better than it sounds. It's pretty good. Hollow Tree.
Hollow Tree.
Hollow Tree.
All right, Hollow Tree.
This song was one of the first songs that we started working on when we started putting together the batch of songs that would become Expel.
This song is one of our darkest and most drony songs that I think we have.
It was one of those songs where when we first started putting it together, it seemed like it was going to sound one way. And when we finally got everything recorded, it was a total surprise.
I think it's the most emo sounding song that Light the Way's ever done. We've had some slower, softer, tear-jerking songs before, but this one kind of goes to like the next level, I think. It's one of those like depressingly hopeful kind of songs.
One of the first ones that I wrote in preparation for the album, and all the songs that I wrote for the album, or it was the primary like song constructor, have kind of a different vibe and tone. When I was naming my songs, like we always do code names for songs when we're kind of putting them together before we know what we're actually going to call them. I had all of mine named after the Seven Dwarfs, and this one was Sleepy because it felt like kind of like a sleepy vibe to it. Felt like a little bit down.
It's super emotional and definitely one of our most heartfelt songs on the album, although there is some competition.
It's a very emotional song. I remember when we were working on that song in the beginning, I thought it was a really catchy song, really creative, just a lot of energy involved. And then I get the first rough demo copy with the vocals, and actually hearing the vocals, the lyric content, and I got super emotional. The part where it talks about an empty house. At that period of time in my life, actually, I remember the day I listened to that part of the song came on, I was in Elk Grove, and I was driving through my aunt's neighborhood on the way to basically go check on her house. She had passed on July 31st, 23, and so I was helping my dad with preparing the house for estate sale and eventually sale of the house. And that song actually came on when I was driving through the neighborhood getting to my aunt's house, and to talk about the portion of the lyric where it says this, something about the empty house, and it immediately triggered me, and it caused me to cry. At one moment the song is beautiful, but at the same time it was sad, and I guess I kind of wanted to hear the song again just to see if it would trigger me to build up this emotion and all this grief that I had been going through at the time. And yeah, sure enough, it made me cry again. And I remember pulling over before I pulled into the driveway of my aunt's house, and I messaged Christian. It's a great song. I unfortunately can't listen to it anymore just because it's at the time it was affecting me. It was triggering me. It was making me really sad. So I would go through and I listened to the rest of the songs, but when that song came up, I would hit the next track.
I think it's really cool because we did some parts of the songs like feature like drum beats or just, things that we haven't done before. So I really like that about the song. I think we go to some new places for Light the Way, and I think it just helps the album overall have some variance so that all the songs don't just sound, like pop punk all the time, which isn't a bad thing.
Musically, yeah, it's very drony, kind of takes a different tempo than most of our songs do, and lyrically, it's kind of part of this album is like a bit of a grief journey for me. And when we put the album together totally, like all as one unit, all the songs are kind of, the central point is to expel the things out of our lives that are hindering our lives, the things that get in the way of our faith, the things that get in the way of our relationship and our growth, and just who we are. So a lot of the songs that I wrote have to do with like grief of divorce or like breakup. And this one in particular was about the feeling when you're grieving something and you're actually to a point where you're kind of over it, and you begin to feel like hollow, almost that you had all this strong feeling for so long and once you no longer have those feelings, you start feeling not yourself, almost like a hollow tree, like what is on the inside of me anymore. And so some of the imagery that I wanted to portray was that image of like a hollow tree, but that it could also be, a home to, like an owl. You'll see an owl on our album cover, but like just something that it's like, I may be hollow inside, but can I find home here? Can this be a great new place to start? Or so it's really wrestling with kind of like yourself, and also talking to God, and also the people around you. The song kind of changes who it's talking to as the lyrics go on, but kind of asking questions of yourself, of God, and of your friends, like, are you going to stay here with me? Are we going to build something new? Are you going to help me move on? And am I going to help myself? God, are you going to help me?
Once the estate sale took place and the house was eventually sold, and I was slowly over all that, the emotional part of that chapter in my life coming to an end, the song kind of came back into my life, and it has more of a purpose, and it's less of an emotional thing that triggers this memory or even this raw emotion. And currently have been in grief counseling for almost 15 months. It's been very helpful.
I think it makes a good track on the album because it was something to expel, these worries and fears of not healing properly.
And to anyone who's dealing with loss in their life, I definitely suggest getting grief counseling. It would definitely help you.